Over the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of time working with ancestors, understanding transgenerational and ancestral patterns, understanding and exploring what I have inherited from my ancestors, and working with my clients to help them understand what they've inherited from their ancestors as well. And as part of this intense ancestor work I've been doing, I've also been running ancestor courses. So I've been working with groups of people to help them look at understanding how ancestor work works, and helping them to look at their own ancestral patterns and helping them to heal some of the stuck energy within their ancestry. And last October was I think the third cohort. And on this cohort, there is a absolutely amazing artist called Esther. And Esther runs a small business called Swan Creations. And through the work that we've been doing together on things like the Ancestor course, but also through things like my Benu's table, I've learned to really get to know Esther and the amazing things that she creates. So I asked her if she wouldn't mind just putting something together for me. So I had a really kind of vague idea about what I might be looking for. And what I wanted was basically some small dolls, just some little things that would represent um, the ancestors. So when you do family constellation work, you sometimes put things down. So we can either use people, so we can do it in a group setting, and we can have individuals representing each ancestor, or you can put just pieces of paper on the floor and different. So when you work with genograms, you may work with squares and circles, and you can do this sort of by putting them on the floor as well. But what I wanted was something that was a little bit more tangible and personal than this. So I asked Esther if she wouldn't mind just coming up with something like maybe dolls or something which would represent ancestors and that I could work with. And I have an absolutely amazing finished result. And I don't normally do videos saying, oh, look at the lovely things I have. If you've seen my YouTube channel, there's really nothing of that on there at all. But I just have to talk through these particular things because I think they're absolutely amazing. And I'm still trying to work out for myself now how to use them. So this is the bag they came in. And we have a wonderful Otala rune on it. So Otala being the rune of the ancestors. And each of these dolls arrived in their own drawstring bag, which makes it really easy for me to work with individual dolls at a time. For the purposes of this video, though, I've taken them out of their individual bags so that I can show you how they work together. So I'm going to show you these dolls now and just explain a little bit about what sort of things I can do with them and really how they came about. So if you were creating a traditional genogram, you would have squares for one gender and circles for another gender. Now, when the dolls were being created, I wanted to have 9 so that they fitted in with the Norse concept. So 9 is such a good number. So I want to do as much as Norse flavoured as possible because it's the other side of my work. So what we decided on is we decided on having 3 female characters, 3 male characters, and then 3 non-binary characters. And the non-binary characters can be both male and female whenever they need to be, but also they can represent family members. And I have family members who identify as non-binary. So in order for me to work through with my family correctly, having that non-binary option was really important to me for other reasons too. So I'm going to start by showing you the non-binary dolls. And this is the first. And this one is absolutely amazing. I mean, they're all beautiful. But so that's the back, and I often have been finding that this doll likes to be backwards. They like to be hiding their face. So I have some very introverted ancestors. So it's really this doll tends to represent them. And if you turn it round, you can see the emblem, the beautiful, beautiful work from this doll. So it's a really lovely, lovely doll. And so that one often represents sort of the family members who like to hide. And I find that if I'm working with this doll, it might be that there is information that wants to flow forward, but it might be that the face would like to be hidden. So this represents an unknown. Some people that work with constellation work will also work with the concept of the guardian angel. So I think this doll, if I have a client that works with that guardian angel concept, this works really well for them. And it can also work as the dizzier. It can work as being the representation of the protective energies. And then we have this lovely figure here. And this is, I mean, the workmanship in this is absolutely beautiful. So we have, again, when Esther created these, she used just pieces of material that she had around. So some of the material has come from other projects that she's done. And I really, really like the way that this material all works together. And I think if Esther might sort of do these on demand in the future. So she might take special orders to do similar things to this. And I think how wonderful it would be to send old clothing of family members, material, maybe jewels that have been in the family that can be repurposed into these dolls. And this is the third non-binary doll there. So lovely shiny hair. But the workmanship in these is absolutely amazing. So those are the non-binary ones. And this is the first of the 3 male characters. And when you're working with these dolls, what you can do is you can put them all out in front of you and see which of them you feel represents that person more. So you may be working with your male line, father, grandfather, and you may choose the doll that you feel fits them more closely. And then this is the second one. This one's got a rather fancy beard and amazing cufflinks, a really lovely kind of shiny material. So they're really beautifully put together. And when you're working through, you can choose the dolls that most represent each member. And this one is a little bit more modern dressed, a nice bun at the top and more modern clothing. And you can also use a doll to represent yourself. So what you may want to do when you're working through is have a representative for you, but you can also have representatives working down the family line as well. So if you were looking at, for example, critical parenting, you may choose to work with your parent, their parent, their parent, and then you may choose to work with your child or your children as well. And you may feel that you're more critical to one child than you are to another, and you would specifically work with the energy of that child in order to look at what that pattern is. And then finally, we have the 3 female dolls. So this is the first one. And I feel in so many ways that this really represents me. I feel that this is the closest to the representation of me. But I also feel when I'm working through that my great grandmother, this closely represents as well. So I will work in both ways with this doll. And I absolutely love, look at that. I'm absolutely really obsessed with hairs. So having that beautiful hair at the bottom is really, like, really works so well. And then we have the female dolls I absolutely sort of feel most affinity with, I think. So this one is lovely representative, beautiful, beautiful. I don't know if you can see it, but a really beautiful leaf pendant there. Wonderful vintage brooch as a flower. Lovely, just such beautiful, so much time and effort have gone into creating these. And I'm just, when they arrived and I saw them in real life for the first time, I was almost completely sort of overwhelmed by them, just looking at them, thinking they have so much energy and so much work has gone into them, and recognizing that I need to work with them as more than just simple placeholders now, and the importance of really now letting them teach me what else I need to do. And this is the final of the female dolls and the final of the dolls as well. And I think this is just an amazing, amazing doll. Such huge energy that comes from this doll. And I have Scottish ancestry, and I also work as a seer as well. So this has it has almost my Scottish grandmother energy, and I can almost smell her within the doll. It's a really odd thing to describe, but it almost has the fragrance of her within it. And being a seer, I see, with the crescent moon, this is a doll which I think represents my seer ancestors as well, because ancestry isn't just about the genetics. It's not just about who you are genetically from, and ancestry is more complex than this. So I also have witch ancestors, the witch lines that I come from, the people that initiated them, who initiated me, back through the lines, who had an impact. Those are also my ancestors. So the seers of the past are also my ancestors as well. So this really sort of represents that element of my ancestry too. So amazing, again, amazing workmanship, really, really using these kind of found items to real beautiful effect. So using them as placeholders, using them as representatives is something that I can do with them. And I feel that each of them already has its own energy, already has its own feeling, and that they're able to put that aside whilst they represent another ancestor. But I also feel that they almost would like to be worked with as archetypes, that they would like to be worked with in terms of maybe one day I'd want to work with a specific type of ancestor, and I would bring that doll out. And I think there's also the way we can work with them by having all the dolls in together and asking my client to put their hand into the bag, bring out a doll, and then we can allow the doll to, show us. We can work with the energy that that doll is bringing. So I think there's lots of different things that we can do. I find when you do constellation work involving people, you can see the energy that each person has towards each other. So you can see, you can kind of sense, is there any animosity? Is there a really strong sense of love between those people? What is between those two ancestors? How is that energy flowing? So if we think of energy, energy flows downwards. So my energy comes from all the way back through my ancestors, and my mother passes her energy down to me. If I then have an obligation towards my mum, or I have a promise that I've taken on her behalf, or if I'm parentified in any way, then that energy may not pass down. I may be trying to pass energy up, which then means that everything's blocked for the next generations. So if my grandmother, for example, was trying to fulfill an obligation, or was parentified, or was trying to pass up in any way, the energy that my mother had would be less. So the energy that she could pass down to me would be less too. And then by the time it reaches my children, that energy is very much lessened. So when we work with this down flow of energy, and we work with how that energy is flowing, when we look at two dolls together, and the dolls being little representatives of people, it's much easier to see them by using cards, or by using bits of sticker on the floor. We can really look at placing those two dolls next to each other and seeing, how does that energy feel? What kind of relationship would they have had? How would they have got on? And then we can see if there's anything that needs healing or processing, or if there's any additional work that we need to do. So this is a really great way that I'm hoping I'll be able to use these dolls with clients. And as I say, I do feel a bit strange doing this video, this sort of, oh, look what lovely things I have. But the amount of work and energy that Esther has put into these dolls, just, I really feel the importance of sharing them and showing how amazing they are, and really kind of demonstrating them as something that I think is kind of new, and something that I haven't worked with in this way before. So part of this is about really saying thank you to Esther for the work that they've put in, and just the amazing result that they've had in these beautiful, beautiful dolls, but also showing the things that I will be working with in the future, demonstrating what these dolls are, so that when I then start talking about them in videos and I start bringing them out for examples, and if you ever work with me and I bring them out, you have an idea of what they are, and their origins and their purpose.